Wanted to respond to this in a verbal way, a screencast. So here it goes. I'm going to start with playing a little bit of this and then responding.
Audience. I remind myself, calm this.
So, for me, three things are happening at once here. There is the background, there is the voiceover, and there is the text. Sometimes I think they are warring factions, and sometimes I think they are amplifying factions. They help each other out. I'm not sure here. I think they amplify, except for this great big white text box is kind of overwhelming. But the line observing in silence is a nice one.
Restlessness. I am audience. An early arrival. Observe in silence. And I study the movements of the woman.
All right, so this text is in the foreground, and the images are in the background, and the voice is what ties them together. So I say.
Barehandedly building a trombone before me. A brass skeleton pulled from a case of felt. Metallic mouthpiece sliding into curved frame.
Okay, so this observation is being reflected. It's like a pool of reflection behind it. But there's no videos here. It's interesting. There's no video representations here. The text is asked to carry that for the listener.
Her right hand releasing the valve as if breath were water, as if there were remembered notes.
Yes, and the remembered notes are reflected on the left-hand side of the screen.
Rippling outward in a river of sound.
And there's the ripple on the right, and again with the large white text box.
A trumpet player covers his mouth, laughs at a joke, looks to see if anyone is watching. A percussionist stretches her fingers gently along the skin of the tabla, generating a gentle hum.
So the text is front and center here, or left and center, rather, stage right, if you want to think of it in terms of a stage with an audience. So, in a way, I am the audience. You are the audience. We are the audience. And this is a monologue being spoken by someone observing the trumpet player, someone observing the percussionist.
And I turn my attention to the figure of a man whose left hand is twisting a neck into tune. Twanging strings in the shape of fingers on his other, plucking a pick along taut steel lines.
So what Kevin is doing here is pulling out the pedestrian observations about a guitar with strings and making us see it in a different way, because that's what poetry is all about, is getting you to see and think and hear and smell and taste in a different way. The things that we have made routine, de-routinizing the world. That's what poetry is.
Prime meridians running parallel over a carved out shape.
Yeah, that's a marvelous notion of the music in the guitar strings as part of a global meaning. The use of the phrase prime meridian there.
Whispering frequencies across the guitar.
So the guitar is kind of a shortwave receiver and transmitter.
The note, if ever lost, has been found.
Now, one thing I haven't mentioned is the timing of the slides. When you use Lumen 5, and it's the same, it's like being a musician, and your instrument is Lumen 5 or whatever tool you're using to edit and bring together all these disparate elements.
A tenor saxophonist mouths a reed, wanders, wood, not yet resonating, a quiet expectation. A flautist runs a feather through the body, removing traces in a before-performance ritual. And I witnessed a woman bent over the bass drum, her foot kicking down on the one. She's fiddling with action on the mechanical contraption.
Yeah, it's a marvelous set of repetitions here. Action, contraption, and then here, motion.
The pedal where her foot will propel the band into forward motion. Then she's done. Focusing now, fixing, adjusting. First ride cymbals, then the hi-hat. And then snare drum whose wire mesh bottom echoes in the nearly empty hall.
So you can imagine Kevin casting his eyes across the landscape, the meridians of musical instruments. And I have to admit myself that hearing an orchestra tune up, or before that the kind of pre-tune, is one of my favorite activities. Going to hear a symphony or other music. And it happens too with it's kind of that anticipatory power. There's going to be more organized sounds coming, but these are very interesting. These are the anticipatory improvisational notes that are arising.
Like ball bearings cut loose in a tin can town.
Yes, that's a nice image. Reminds me of one that I use frequently. It's like a single marble in a Chinese checker box.
A sound man, like Snake Charmer, wrestling wires and cords connected into mics. A pair of soundboard technicians calling the muse with levers, knobs, and widgets.
Yeah, it's a larger group of people who are part of this. It's the audience is just a part of and a necessary part of what makes this all come to life.
Along comes a man spinning a thin baton between his fingers, mesmerizing, wondering, waiting for something to drop.
Yes, waiting for the beat to drop.
But he doesn't ever stop, so lost in the papers before him, the scratched up music score spilling over sides of an angled stand. His lips mouthing stories of the acts yet to come.
So Kevin says that he's trying to make this, he's trying to work with longer poetry this summer. And I think this is his way of doing it, is to extend the observing period and it's well done. Something's building to a crescendo here before the main event.
He too soon will be an audience of one, threading through the tapestry of each musician in each moment, where he becomes Arachne, stitching a poem to which all here will be bound.
Yeah, so the idea of the orchestra or the band or whatever community is creating something, chorus, as a spider web, where each person is feels the web and is attuned to every other person. And of course, in this case, the conductor, the Arachne, the spider, who's sensing all, or we assume he or she is sensing all.
I am audience.
And that's the end of it. Kevin asked me to look at this a little bit, and I think he gives me more credit than I deserve, because I'm very careful. I'm very leery of saying too much about somebody else's work, because I don't want it to become what I want it. I want it to be what they want it to be. And I love how he's not sure that this is the final version, right? He's not sure that that's what he wants it to be. It says that right here. And he thinks it's too long. If that's too long, my response is even longer. Under 3 minutes is a good idea, but I think you have to think of these in terms of, you can read a short poem in just a few seconds, like 10, 15, 20 seconds. A haiku just takes almost no time at all. So, longer poems like this, you can't rush them. And he notes that he has an alternative version where there's no voice narration at all. Would have liked to have heard the one Lumen 5 has an AI narration to see what that felt like. And the notion here of too much reading, yeah. If you're going for visual and auditory, then text can become an impediment. I'm not sure it is an impediment here. I wouldn't call it that anyway. And I like how he let the poem sit for a couple of weeks. I just can't do that, which probably means I write a lot of bad poetry that'll let out into the wild and then it gets eaten up. But the notion of using your voice as an instrument, I think, is really important here. And the notion of tempo that extends not only with the voice, but with the text, and more importantly, with the movement between slides and within slides. How much time you allow for us. There's all kinds of interesting variations within Lumen 5 as a tool. And I just love seeing it. Thanks for doing this, Kevin, and I hope this is of some value to you.